terrorists have actually came in, and they actually came in with visas, and most of the times they flew. So New York, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Newark, Orlando, Washington, Fort Lauderdale, New York, New York, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Newark, Washington, Cincinnati, Fort Lauderdale, New York, and the list goes on. I mean, none of these people have ever crossed through land through Mexico. And the number one reason why they built this wall that has cost us billions of dollars, and why we may be planning to build another wall that's going to cost us even more, is to stop terrorism. But statistically speaking, no terrorists have ever crossed the Mexico-United States border. In fact, 2 of the terrorists were born here in the United States. Now, the second point they made was to stop drugs. Most of the drugs are flown in. Most of them. Now, there are a lot of drugs that have come in through land, but that is like, I mean, even if you were able to stop all the drug smuggling that came through the Mexico and United States border, you would probably stop less than 5% of it. So we're spending billions of dollars to stop a minimum amount of drugs from coming in. That's something that maybe a virtual wall would be able to stop. That's a lot of money. Now, number 3 is to stop illegal immigration. Most illegal immigrants that come into the United States, they all come in with visas. So they actually use the bridge and hop right on over. They just simply overstay their visas. The wall does not work. The current wall does not work, and any wall that Donald Trump plans on building will never work. So Washington kind of figured it out. So in March of 2010, they froze all spending on the wall that currently sits. And it's estimated that just to maintain the wall that sits, because they're not going to spend any more money on it, they're not going to make it any larger, they're not going to make it, they're not going to fill in the gaps that are in the current wall right now. Just to maintain and repair the current 700-mile long wall that sits between the border right now, over the next 25 years, we would spend about $29 billion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of bomb-sniffing dogs. Now, here's another thing. According to Donald Trump, and if you're a Donald Trump supporter, this thing is playing through your mind right now. Well, Mexico's going to pay. Mexico's going to pay. Mexico's going to pay. I'm going to play a clip for you real quick, and then we'll hit it again.
Can just say this: more people are in this country right now illegally than ever before. I will build a better wall, and I'll build it for cheaper, and Mexico will pay, if that's your next question.
Yeah, how do you get Mexico to pay?
Because they are ripping us left and right.
But
Mexico.
how do you make
By the
them
way,
pay?
I love the Mexican people. Many Mexican people work for me. Many Mexico people I do business with. They purchase things for me, like apartments, etc., etc. I have great relationships with Mexico and with the Mexican people. I love the Mexican people. I love their spirit.
So, if you're a Donald Trump supporter and you're out there and you find a clip with Donald giving specifics on how he's going to make Mexico pay for this wall, send it to me, please. He has never given specifics ever on how exactly he's going to make Mexico pay. Presidents of Mexico, ex-presidents of Mexico have come out and said that they will not pay for this wall. And honestly, at the end of the day, that kind of spending would take a major, it would require major legislation. It has to pass through the House, it has to pass through the Senate, and then it would have to be signed by Donald if he was to become president. So if you disagree with the wall, let's make sure we pick the right senators and congressmen. That's what it all comes down to. Now, I'm gonna wrap up with this. Glenn Beck, I don't know if you guys listen to The Blaze. I do. I don't necessarily agree with everything that they say, but he brought a really good point. So we have to assume, or we have to, I guess, make peace with the fact that Donald Trump might be our next president. And there's a part in his program that happened about 2 weeks ago, where he's embracing a Donald Trump supporter. And I think he hit it right on the nail. I think this is exactly how we need to react as Americans, as one nation. I'm gonna play that clip for you, and then we'll sum up the podcast.
Come here. Would you guys stand up for a second? This is the way you solve it.
Now I'm going to describe what's going on here. They're in his studio, and he has a live audience, and he grabs the Donald Trump supporter and everybody that's standing there with him, and they create like this little huddle. They sort of hold hands, and let's listen to the rest of the clip.
Not through anger or violence or any of that, but you're not alone. We're all in this together. We are all just as afraid as you are. I look at my children, and I don't know what kind of life they're going to have. I don't know what kind of country they're going to have. I think of my daughters who are in their 20s and just getting started, and I don't know what's going to happen to them. I don't know what's going to... I just was in a meeting with business today, and I said, I believe a greater depression is coming. And I want my accounting department to be ready for that. What do we do? And we all looked at each other and we said, we don't know. But as long as we have this, as long as we're okay, as long as we're good to one another, as long as we depend on our neighbors, as long as we remain Americans, we're going to be fine. We don't need a strong man. We need each other. And that's what our society has left out, is we've been taught to separate ourselves. We've been taught that because we're different colors or different financial positions or whatever, that we're separate. We're not.
Thank you.
We're okay. We're okay. We love you.
He hits it right in the nail. I mean, that's what we have to do. If Donald Trump ends up being our next president, you know what? That's okay. But at the end of the day, we need to stick together. We really do need to stick together. We cannot be divided by anger. We cannot cause division in people just because they may not think the same way that we do. No matter what you believe in, we have to stick together. We really do. Otherwise, our nation's completely lost. We have to stick together. We cannot let someone like Donald Trump, with a few sentences, tear us apart. We have to love each other. We have to fight the division that his anger is bringing upon us. Because we're not that kind of nation. We are not that kind of nation at all. At all. So I want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast, The Wall, the podcast number 3. If you guys have any questions for us, please feel free to email us. It's godguns.america00@gmail.com. You can use hashtag #TheArmedYouthPastor. We're very proud to announce to you guys that you can actually now follow us on Apple Podcasts, on iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, SoundCloud. And when we do our live radio, you'll actually be able to check us out on iHeartRadio. Again, the name of the channel is God, Guns, America. Remember, let's not cause division. Let's not get divided because of anger. Let's not hate each other because of the way we think. Let's stick together, and I promise you guys that our country will be greater again. All right, thank you so much for listening.